Hello, I'm George Lamb and I'm here today to find out a little bit more about fatherhood. Now, becoming a dad is one of the biggest challenges you can face in life. The rewards are of course massive, but so are the responsibilities. And how do you find out and prepare about becoming a dad? Well, who better to ask than my old man. Right, Dad, what was your reaction to finding out you were going to be a dad the first time, which was before me?
Which was before you. Well, I was much younger. I was 21 then, and I was terrified. And in the end, the mother of the child to be and I decided that the best thing to do was to get married. And in the end, I couldn't deal with it. And to be perfectly frank with you, age 21, I walked away from the whole thing. And it's one of the big regrets in my life. So when you came along, I was 32, and your mum and I were happily married, and we'd been, desperate that, you'd be a bonny, healthy baby, and we were lucky.
What about responsibilities? How did it change your life?
Well, I had no experience of what a difference a baby was going to make to my life.
Right.
I'd not lived around a newborn baby.
Right. And how did you deal with living around the newborn
living
baby?
around a newborn baby means that you forget about everything that's anything to do with you. Instead of being, particularly as a sort of a young actor, totally self-obsessed, worried about my life, worried about my career, worried about the next job, worried about money, worried about the bank, worried about everything. Suddenly there's something else that demands your attention, that demands the attention of your partner, your wife, its mother. And I think that's the main thing. Suddenly you're not the focus of everything anymore. You are not the centre of attention.
So how did you get your head around that then?
I was very lucky in that I had your mum, because your mum came from a very well-balanced family. So your mum was quite prepared, and she understood exactly what this was going to involve, having a baby. I really didn't have any idea how different my life was going to be. Everything is about where they're sleeping, what they're feeding, what they're eating, what's making them happy, who's going to take them wherever they're going to go. The whole life revolves around that new being. And that I think that's the thing that's very difficult to prepare for. And you've got to try and grow up. You've got to try and appreciate that. Okay, this isn't
something that just happens. You don't just become a dad. You've got to put a bit of effort in, right?
You've got to put a lot of effort in, a lot of effort. And I don't think I realised just how much effort. The first all they need is nurturing and looking after them. Basically, the mother feeds them, and you cuddle them and clean them and carry them. And waking up with babies in the middle of the night when they literally control your whole sleeping pattern, that's a big one to deal with.
What are the kind of immediate changes that a young man should be prepared to experience with their partner?
The main problem is that they become totally focused on somebody other than you, and that's not easy. And I can remember feeling really miffed about your mum. Your mum was dealing with you,
yeah.
and I had to stop growing up. I'd start being a dad. What's a dad? A dad is somebody who's got to not only support the mum and being a loving husband, but he's got to be the support of the two of them. He's got to be the family. You've started a family. That's it. Whether you like it or not, it is a family unit.
What would you say are the three kind of fundamental lessons you've learned from fatherhood?
I think the most fundamental thing I've learned is that you've got to be absolutely honest with your children. You cannot in any way bully them or dominate them or deal with them in any way other than absolutely truthfully. And these are things that were all done to me as a child, that in growing up and becoming your father, I learned that I had to be dead honest with you, that I never had to bully you, that I should never, ever, ever say anything bad about your mum, no matter how fed up I was with her and how she was driving me crazy, because, you know, as you know, by the time you were 3, we weren't even living together. We were living around the corner to each other. But I'd spent all my childhood listening to my mum and dad rowing, and I just was not going to let you have that.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, how did you come up with the name George?
Well, it was easy, really, because it runs in your Scottish family. So your granddad was George, his first son was George, and my first son was George. There was no, there was no sort of choice as far as I was concerned. You were going to be George the Third.
Mad.
Yeah, mad.
Mad George. Perfect. All right, Dad. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, boy.